Welcome back to the DRH show. I'm delighted to have a passionate voice in global communications and mental health advocacy. She's a multilingual PR and communications manager at a leading market research and data analytics firm with experiences across 3 countries. As a mental health advocate, she has worked with the charity Mind and created spaces for women through Girl Gun International and a female only yoga community. She also hosts a podcast, Amplifying Voices in Entrepreneurship, Peacebuilding, and Well-being, and is currently a candidate for Miss Universe Great Britain. Congratulations, by the way. Candice Turbo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for this beautiful introduction, Dennis. I'm really grateful and happy to be here with you today.
Yeah. Just a bit of context. So I've been with Candice podcast twice now. So I'll be including the link to my podcast guesting with Candice. But now we decided to kind of turn the table around. So I'd like to kick this off with, getting to know you a bit more about your background and academic journey, Candice. So, Candice, I understand that you've studied and worked across 3 countries, like what I've mentioned earlier. So, how have these cross-cultural experiences influenced your understanding of identity and belonging?
Well, they did clearly influence my view of the world, not just identity and belonging. So, for the one who don't know me, I will just share my journey. So, I was born and raised in France, and actually, I started studying in France, which is where I did my bachelor's degree in English and Chinese languages, and I also studied in China, which is where I've learned about Asia and China, and I was immersed in the culture. So that was my first cross cultural experience from an academic perspective. And it was a life changing experience for me because what I found is that there were some common point with my culture that is African and Caribbean. So while I was so surprised by the language and everything that was different, I was also very happy to see so many common points in those cultures. So that was a massive first experience for me. Then after that, I moved to the UK to pursue my master's in PR and corporate communications, which I got with honor. So I was really happy with it. And then once again, it was a new experience because it was the first for me to be in an English-speaking country and to be immersed in the British culture that is very, very, very different from the French one. Even though we're neighbors, the mindset is totally different. So that was very interesting for me to be immersed every time. And I became like a chameleon in a sense. So I was always still me, but I knew how to adapt. So that's how I say you always have to keep your spine straight, but yet you adapt. You adapt because the way you communicate in China is totally different from the way you do in France, totally different from the way you do in the UK. So you always have to slightly adapt, but you still have to be yourself. And what I found very interesting is that when it comes to belonging, I felt that actually I belong everywhere. I know a lot of people that have all of those experiences coming in different countries and all of that feel that, oh, where do I belong? But first, I'm very rooted in my roots, which is Africa and also the Caribbean from my parents' heritage, and France, which is where I was born and grew up. And then I add on all of those new experiences. And I am what I call a global citizen today. I can connect, emphasize, care, build relationship with people from every other side of the world because ultimately we are all part of one world, which is the world of humanity.
Absolutely. That's really a grounding way of putting it, Candice. And I really appreciate that, you realize that despite all the newness, there were threads of familiarity in the culture. And, just like what you've said, we're really part of this global community. But just to follow up on that, as someone who's fluent in 5 languages, including Mandarin, so how do you think, Candice, multilingualism affects emotional connection and cross-cultural communication? Does it make things easier for you, or do you have some sort of because I also speak 2 languages. So my first language is Filipino, and sometimes I've had this experience like when you open the fridge, like am I looking for milk or am I looking for gatas? Because that's the Filipino word for milk. Do you also have that? Like, you have to kind of like, you know, juggle between two languages.
I think so. I think that in the end, in a sense, you create your own language, which is what happened in my experience. So I think in French and all of that in French, but sometimes you have some work related expression that will always come up in English, because if you're working in an English language environment, of course you're going to pick up that language. And same for other areas of your life. But what I've noticed is that even though there are so many different languages, some words cannot be translated. And for example, even though I speak in French or in English, there are some expressions that I like from Mandarin, such as tiayo, which translate as adding oil, which actually means stay strong, like add oil to the engine so you can keep going. And I think it's such a nice expression to add. So sometimes my sentence will be all in French, and then was tiayo. And I know that I can add that with some people who also speak Mandarin, or actually some people who don't speak Mandarin actually pick up on the word, because my mom, who does not speak Mandarin, picked up some few words because she heard me saying it, and she heard my sister say it as well, because my sister speaks Mandarin as well. So that's very interesting how in the end you just spread the language.
Mhm. That's really an interesting point, and it really shows how language use becomes fluid depending on the context. Now, because of your background in communication, you started a career in PR and corporate communication. So, how do you define your role within that space today? Because it's very dynamic, it's very fast paced.
Yeah, yeah. I actually love my role, especially in tech. I think the tech sector is one of the most exciting fields to be in, because there is AI. Here I said it, the big words that everyone talks about, but it's so exciting because I think that we are living in a revolution. It's so many new opportunities coming up. So many things are about to change, and I find that so exciting to be part of it, to witness it. So I work for a data analytics company. We have a lot of data. We also do some data science, and we have some artificial intelligence software and all of those type of things. I am not in the technical side, more on the marketing one, but this is what we do. And I feel very lucky, honored to be in this field, because I learned so much and I see what we can do now with data, what we can do with technology, and it's so fascinating to be here. And what I love the most about what I do is that I don't even have to be the one doing the nitty gritty stuff, which can be fascinating because I did it once trying to look at the data, and that's great. But I get to bring in creativity, because ultimately, if you have data or if you have a technology, but you cannot bring it to life, you cannot show to the people the impact it will have in their life, then you might as well not have this technology, because no one will use it. And this is what I love, being able to create stories with technology, being able to show the impact it can have in the user's life, and all of the one that would benefit from it, and being able to do it on a global scale. Because in my role, I saw that some of the things you do in the UK, you cannot do the same PR or the same marketing strategy in Germany. They will tell you, no, no, it's forbidden. They love their rules. You have to follow the rules. You cannot do the same in Spain or in Brazil. So it's very interesting to see all of those different cultural nuances, but yet trying to bring the same story to life.
Absolutely, and it's really fascinating time, to witness how data, how technology, how innovation is shaping our world. But I'd like to move on from your work within PR and marketing to your advocacy work and community work. Of course, like what I've said, you've collaborated with Mind. It's the UK's leading mental health charity for anyone who's watching outside of Britain. But Candice, what did you learn from that experience about how we talk about mental health publicly? And this kind of like mirrors my conversation that I had when I guested on your podcast. So it's interesting to hear your perspective about this question.
Yeah, I think actually it's amazing that we talk about it more and more. I think it's about getting rid of the taboo. Because if you look back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was a very bad word to say, I have a therapist. There was shame attached to it. I have a mental health issue. There was shame attached to it. But now, little by little, the shame is going away, and we actually talk about it. And I think this is amazing to be able to participate in that and to see this shift happening. And actually, thanks to this shift, not only people are feeling better themselves, but they inspire others to feel better as well. So I think this is amazing. However, I think that we need to do more, in the sense that it's great, all of the advocacy that we do, talking about it, demystifying mental health, actually, being more educational about it, it's great. But we also need to be supported by policies, by access to therapists. We can make so many beautiful podcasts, so many great blog articles, but we need to have therapists available on the ground, and being able to take on new patients. And we need to have that system in place so we can send the people there and they know that they will be welcomed and they will find someone who will be trained to take care of them.
Absolutely, and like what I've said, there's a lot of work to be done to make support more accessible, and not just accessible, but it has to be consistent and part of everyday life.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me to my next question. I understand, Candice, you've led conversations with experts like psychologists and academics for your campaign. So, which perspectives left the strongest impression on you?
Actually, I must say they all left an interesting perspective, because every professional that I interviewed gave bring his own flavor to the topic. Some were really related to um, women mental health psychology. Some were more into the psychiatry side. Some were more into the charity side. So everybody was bringing their own story. However, if I'm fully transparent, there is one that was really interesting for me. It was the one with a professor of psychiatry from the University of Cambridge, because I've learned something that to me was unknown. It was that a lot of mental health illnesses are actually coming from, or could be related to, inflammation, which means it's about your immune system itself. So a lot of the times we think, we don't even know, we say, oh, this person is just stressed and there is a peak in cortisol and this person had this mental health illness. But some of those mental health illnesses are actually sometimes genetics, but also due to inflammation. So how could we reduce the inflammation of our immune system? How can we take better care of our immune system? So there is that. And that was something that was really surprising to me, because if you were to ask me, I would think that, okay, some people have mental health illness, some don't. Some people are a bit more stressed than others, some don't. I didn't know the whole science behind it. And that was really interesting for me to learn about that and to be able to share the world about that as well.
Absolutely. And of course, Candice, aside from that, you've also founded a female only yoga community. So, how do you view the connection between mindfulness, movement, and mental well being?
I think it's they're also correlated. They are correlated, and I think that the health of the mind is the health of the body, and I think also it's related to my own story. Everything that I do is related to my own story. So it's interesting. I love your question, because I can see how they're all coming together. So actually, yoga. I tried yoga the first time in China when I was studying there, and it was an incredible experience. And I remember during my first class with this incredible teacher that I had, I felt like I was floating. It was the first time in my life I felt like I was floating, yet I was touching the floor. But my mind, my brain, I felt like I was floating. I was doing slow movement like a dance, but yet I was feeling the tension leaving my body. It was a new feeling to me. Then I left it for a few years, and then things happened again with the whole pandemic. And then I slowly, I made the connection between the mind and the feeling I had felt the first time I did yoga. And I realized that actually these two are related. If you want to ease your mind, you need to ease the body. And actually, mindfulness is what's going to give you speed. Sometimes you want to go quick, quick, quick. You don't know in which direction your mind is racing. No, in the end, it slows you down. And actually, taking the time to be mindful, to have that clarity of mind, this is what will help you go ahead in life. This is what will give you this whole grounded feeling. So for me, they are all related, and I saw that in my own journey as a woman navigating this world. And I'm really happy that I got to share it with other women, with that whole community. That was a nice, beautiful experience for me as well.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Candice, you're also a former host of Girl Gun International. So tell us about it. and how did you go about curating a safe and inclusive spaces for women?
Great. So first of all, I want to tell the world about what GGI is, or Girl International. So it's actually a global platform for women all across the world that are living in another country than the one they were born in, or for whatever reason they moved country, and they want to have this sense in belonging abroad. And I'm really happy to be part of this community because I had this experience myself. When I came to the UK, I didn't know no one. How do I sense? How do I have that feeling of belonging if I know no one here? If the language is not my first language, yet with GGI we managed to create it in London, in Paris, in Berlin, in so many countries across the world. In Cambodia as well, there is GGI. So it's all over the world, and I'm happy and I'm really proud to be part of this organization of women. So how, when women were coming to my event, how did I manage to make them feel at home? First, it's about being non-judgmental, taking people as they are. So actually, I had one event that was for introverted women, and I think that was amazing because a lot of the time, introverted people would think, "Oh no, I don't want to go and meet people, and it's going to be stressful." But then I created a small-sized event. I think we were five, no more than five. I really wanted it to be tiny, and I wanted it to be about deep conversation, which is what we had in the end. The idea was to be comfortable, non-judgmental, small group. We hear you, we listen to you, it's fine. And that's how I created all of those experiences, always thinking, how can I take those women for who they are? How can I be welcoming? And how also can I give them this sense of belonging through warmth? Because to me, belonging is also feeling welcome and warm. And I hope I managed to create this experience for these women who participated in my events.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really an incredible work that you've done. So you have to be really proud of it, Candice. Especially when you can build that across languages and cultures, and like what you've said, that the fact that GGI has reached so many corners of the world, that's really, something remarkable. But I've also now like to move on to your podcast and media voice work. So your podcast features a mix of entrepreneurs, peace builders, and mental health voices. So what patterns or themes do you consistently notice across these conversations?
Ooh, first, I really love that question talking about my podcast. And actually, the when I look back at all of the people that I interviewed, just so you know, the podcast that I created is in French because I wanted to keep that relationship with the French audience, with the French public. So that's great. And actually, what I've noticed is that um, all of these people have two things in common. First, there is this ability to look back and to be self-critical. They have self-awareness. When I look at all of those people who want to create change, they have the ability to take a pause and step back and think, am I doing the right thing? Out of all of the people I interviewed, they always had this really self-critical, in a positive sense, way of seeing the world. And also, there is this force, this force of greed and of passion, of desire of creating change. I noticed it with some entrepreneurs in the field of beauty. I noticed it with some peace activists. I noticed it with nearly all of the people that I interviewed. They always have this strong force to move forward and to bring change into the world. And I found that really admirating. So I'm really happy that they accepted to give me their time so we can share the
Yeah,
vision with the world.
yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you're hosting it in French, it means you really want to stay connected with your roots.
Exactly.
And it's such a thoughtful way to honor your identity and, of course, your audience. And I'd like to move on now to your public platform. This is really exciting because you're currently a Miss Universe Great Britain candidate. So how do you hope to use that platform to elevate causes that matter to you? I sounded like, giving a question to a Miss Universe candidate, but what do you think, Candice?
Well, I think I will share my most honest answer is about bringing change and also elevating consciousness, because sometimes there's so many issues that are going on that people don't necessarily know about it, or they don't want to know about it. And I think that first and foremost, it starts with conversations. That's why I'm really fascinated and I'm really committed to doing those podcasts and talking with specialists. I believe change starts with conversation, and then conversation lead to the second part, which is action. So this is why I'm doing this work with a sisterhood, which is an organization that collect funds and that redistribute them to so many charities across the world that are helping women, be it in the UK for the women who don't have a shelter, be it in the UK for the women suffering from domestic violence, be it in India for the women suffering from acid attacks, or the Philippines or South Africa. This is a global organization. This is what I love about a sisterhood, and this is what I would do as a Miss Universe. It will be about having those hard, sometimes hard conversation and transforming them into action, impact. And also ultimately, beyond this whole activist part of my Miss Universe message, I have one message for every woman that is about their self-esteem. I think that women forgot their self-esteem. And if anyone takes something from me and from my whole campaign as Miss Universe and all of that, is to remind yourself of your worth. So many times, Dennis, I see women, incredible women. They forget. They forget that they are worthy, because we live in a world where you are sent a message, you are not enough. And today I am here to tell them you are enough. That's all. That's my main message.
Yeah, that's really a beautiful message, Candice. And sometimes the most powerful takeaway, don't have to be so complicated. You just have to
Exactly.
remind yourself, to come back to yourself, to stay grounded in who you are, no matter the spotlight or the platform.
Mhm.
But I think there's always a question about pageants,
Yeah.
and it's this, like, it has evolved over the years, the eligibility to join Miss Universe has changed over the years. So what role do you think they can play in reshaping the narratives around mental health
Mm.
and female leadership?
Yes, absolutely. I love that question because it's about always moving forward. What else can we do to make this whole industry even better? And actually, I think when it comes to mental health, there's a lot that Miss Universe and even just us as participants or people that are watching or anything, anyone, we can take a role in that. It's about first one being kinder, and I think that that is something that we can all do on our own scale. Now the organization themselves, that would be to include to have those psychologists here for all of the contestants, for all of those amazing beauty queens, because when you're going in the public eye like that, be it on the national level or on the international level, with social media, it can go nasty pretty quickly. So you need to have that support in place. So that's something that Miss Universe can do. But beyond that, it's also about spreading the message. This is why I really support one of our previous training queens, Shenyes, who had this platform about mental health, and she was elected bringing that platform. So I think this is something that Miss Universe does quite great, giving an even bigger platform to women beauty queen who want to talk about mental health more. And I think that this is something that Miss Universe is starting to do, and that we can do more and more. How can we work with more mental health association like I did with mine? How can we talk about it more? How can we embody it more? It's not about telling people you take care of your mental health while you are suffering from your mental health. How do you lead the way? I believe that we lead by examples. So I think first and foremost, us as beauty queens, we need to look at ourselves and think, how do I take care of my mental health before telling people to do it?
Mhm. And that really shows, the importance of solidarity and lifting each other. And just like what you've said, it's not just about the platform, it's not just the visibility, but it's also an opportunity to talk about mental health, to reinforce that it's not just about competition, it's about amplifying voices. And Candice, now I'd like to move on to your creative life and personal well-being, because I've also learned that you're an accomplished samba dancer. So, aside
Ooh,
from being multilingual, you can also dance. So, what role has dance played in your emotional or mental well-being?
an incredible one. But just before I talk about samba and answer that question that I absolutely love, I want to go back into something that you said about actually competition. I know what I will say will sound surprising, especially as part of a beauty pageant, but to me, there is no competition. The only competition is against myself. I am not here to compete against every other woman because every woman has its own flavor. The judges will vote, the judges will make their own decision, but I'm not here to compete against other women. Actually, I'm just here to not even compete against myself of the yesterday, but to make the little Candice happy. This is my north star in life, making my dreams come true. And I'm not here to be like, I'm competing against you. I am here to meet incredible women and to see how together we can talk about mental health, we can talk about sisterhood, we can talk about advocacy, and we can move together forward. Of course, one of us will carry the crown. Of course, I want the crown. Of course, otherwise I wouldn't sign up. But I am not in the mindset thinking I'm here to compete. And I see that as a whole get together, and there will be a winner. Now going back to samba. Oh, sorry, you wanted to say something.
No, sorry. That, yeah, yeah. Well said. It's more about really personal journey. But yes, go ahead with samba. It's another aspect of your
Yes.
life.
Yes, samba is a very important aspect of my life, and I'm really surprised in terms of how it came in. So, as you know, I have some African roots that I'm very proud of, and Caribbean root that I'm incredibly proud of as well. And I was born and raised in Europe, so I'm a bit scattered and all over the place, which I love because I'm rooted still. And actually, Samba came as part of a journey for me because I was reading this book that I recommend to every Black woman or every woman in general, which is from Bell Hooks, which is titled Ain't I a Woman, which talks about feminism, womanhood for Black women, especially in the US. And when I was reading this book, Dennis, I was thinking, wow, I have to live my best life, not just for me, but for the one that came before me who were not able to live their best life. But also, I thought that actually Black femininity and femininity in general, of course, has to be celebrated. Being a woman, womanhood is incredible. So, this was the first staple in my life. I think I read that book in 2021 or early 2022. And then suddenly, like month or a while later, and at first those two events were not correlated, but I came across this video of a samba queen called Mayara Lima, and actually she was dancing samba with in a samba school, and she was incredible. And I was telling myself, actually, I would love to do that. And then things went silent, and another event. So you can see how the stars were aligning slowly, slowly. And then there was a dance teacher in London saying, I'm doing a class. And I thought, okay, it came up to my feed. So I was not even actually actively looking for it. And I said, okay, let's go. Turns out that actually this woman is really into Afro-Brazilian culture. So you must know that Brazil has this very strong African descent population, and she's teaching samba with that flavor. So she's celebrating femininity with this African touch. And samba is actually a Brazilian dance, but that has its roots from Africa. And I found that beautiful because it celebrates femininity, but also your roots, the sense of coming in Africa. So I fell in love with it when I started doing it. And I think, wow, I'm celebrating myself as a Black woman that was born outside of Africa, but still that also has these roots in me. And I found that incredibly beautiful. And then it led me to Rio, Dennis. I participated in the Samba, in the Rio Carnival this year with the Samba school. And I am very proud to say that we won. We won the competition. Samba is so big in Brazil. They're superstars. If you type the name of all of these women dancing Samba, they're superstars there. So I was really happy to meet them and to dance with them, and that we got to win that competition, to have that, like that championship. So it was incredible for me.
It is definitely incredible, Candice, and it really speaks about your passion and dedication you put into it. Um, Candice, it's really lovely talking to you. But before we wrap up, let's end on a lighter note with some quick fire questions, just to
Ooh.
get to know you more a bit better. So I always ask this to my guests. First is, what were you afraid of as a child?
Ooh. Dogs.
Dogs.
I didn't want to get beaten by a dog. I'm not really sure it has changed though.
I couldn't blame you. And what is your favorite word in another language? You've got five language to choose from.
Ooh, I think I love the one from Turkish, which is aşk. It means love. It's really short. So I think it's cute
Mm,
how short it is, and it means love. So it's a very important word for me. So I like it.
yeah. And if you hadn't been doing what you're doing, you're a mental health advocate, you're an entrepreneur, and many other things. What would you have pursued in your life in another world, in another universe? What would Candice have been?
Ooh, I love this question. What would I be doing? Actually, maybe I would have become a lawyer,
Hmm.
defending the rights and defending the people in need. I think I would have been a lawyer, or yes, or still relating to pageantry all of that, but modeling and dancing even more because I came into dance quite later. So maybe I would have done it earlier.
And finally, the floor is all yours. What should people take away from today's conversation?
One thing, if you're a woman, remember your worth. You are worthy of the world. Don't dim your light. Don't dim yourself. Don't dim yourself. Just take that space. Be proud of who you are. That's the main message. And second one is to support the sisterhood, whether it's the charity or just sisterhood in general. That's the idea. Be kind to other women. We're all here to support each other.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic note to end on, Candice. That's it for us. Your insights into mental health, advocacy, global communications, and community building have been truly inspiring.
Oh,
Candice Togo, it's been a pleasure having you here on the DRH show, and I look forward to hearing more about your work and all the best with the Miss Universe journey.
thank you so much, Dennis. It was a real pleasure being with you today, and thank you for this amazing conversation.